I almost don't recognize Pete because I feel like it's been 8 months or something since we last saw you.
It's
hey,
been
Pete.
like 8 years.
You've been through more than we have since we last saw you.
The last time I saw you guys, I was clean shaven.
That would be something. I don't think I've ever seen that. I want to see pictures of that wherever they are.
Have them.
We haven't seen you since you finished the Great Race. We haven't heard anything about the Great. I don't even know if you won the Great Race or not.
You don't even know if I finished the Great Race or not.
I don't.
And that's really the question. To finish is to win, as they say in the Great Race.
But by the way, so I know every time I do this, we ask you like, well, how do you describe the Great Race? And we're like, it's not really a race. There's not speed involved. So
it's a rally.
I looked it up. So here's what they say on their website for anybody who doesn't know what it is. The Great Race is an antique, vintage, collector car, competitive, controlled speed, endurance road rally on public highways. Not a test of speed, but a test of driver navigator ability to follow a precise course and your ability to endure a cross-country trip. And then instructions, competing teams drive at or below the posted speed limits at all time. So, and there's like, I don't know how many entries, and I don't know how
140 this year. Yeah.
So,
140
and you also,
with the oldest car was like 1912.
Incredible. And you start in Kentucky, you go to Maine in this case.
We start in Kentucky, we go to Maine, we do it the hard way. Yeah. You know, there's no maps, there's no GPS, there's no cell phones. You can't have a watch with a chronograph. You don't even know where you're going or how you're going until 30 minutes before your designated start time, which you don't know until 12 hours before you start. So there's a lot of hoops that we jump through. It's not, see, when we were very ignorant, we thought we were just going to get in the car and, drive around, have a few drinks, have some laughs, whatever. This is work. I mean, it is work, and there's like tons of math involved. So it's, but now it's, when you do something that's hard and it's like you're kind of addictive and you keep wanting to do it again and again. That's kind of where we are.
This is like an escape room in a car.
That's right. Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
And I can tell you that Vienna, my wife, who, by the way, we're still married, just for anybody who was curious, because there was some questions about 4 or 5 weeks ago whether or not our marriage was going to survive the Great Race. It did, I think.
Well, congrats. Yeah, that's awesome.
Escape room, she's ready to escape. She wants nothing to do with it. Again,
right.
Absolutely zero. It's like, but you'll come to the finish line. No, I won't. No, I'm done with the Great Race, she says. So, but I'm still into it, and we had a great time. So I give you just the kind of the quick summary. The car tried to kill us. That's, at the end of the day, that's what happened. The car was not ready for prime time. We, quote unquote, improved the car before we took it on the race. And those improvements, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's kind of what we learned on that. But anyway, we did finish. And when the car ran, we did incredibly well. So in any case, it was an adventure.
So, so I'm hearing didn't win.
No, we did not win. Last year, with my son, our son, Trinity, our oldest, he drove, I navigated. We had a podium finish in our division. This year, we didn't run 2 days. The car blew up 2 out of 9 days.
Oh, man.
But we didn't finish at the bottom, and so that's saying a lot. So we actually did pretty well. We were competitive on the days it ran.
What I didn't realize is, and maybe I should have known this, but there's a decent prize that waits at the end of this thing too.
Yeah, I think it's $60,000, to the winner, to the overall winner.
I mean, I almost would have thought this is just, hey, this is for the love of the game. We want to get out. We want to do this. I didn't realize
that. Yeah, for most of it, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's like running a marathon. We're not in it to win it. We're just in it to say we did it, right?
But I mean, $60,000 is 60.
That'd be nice.
That's like a solid. But obviously, there's a lot of cost and everything that goes into prepping and just being there.
Well, there's cost, but it's more just the discipline and. You've got to be dedicated and disciplined to do it.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time, like anything that you want to be excellent at. But we do it for the camaraderie. We do it for the exposure to the brand. We're a sponsor of it. But it's something that I had wanted to do since I was a kid in college in Northern California. When I saw these cars come across the mountain in the middle of no place, I was like, what is this all about?
Yeah.
It was the Great Race Across America. It's something I always wanted to do. And, we've had the chance to do it 2 years in a row, and I think we'll do it again, but Vienna won't be in the car. So
She won't be in the country.
she won't be in the, she's going to be like, she's going to be someplace having a nice drink somewhere.
What do you do when the car blows up? I mean, do you have a team with you, or do you just find the nearest garage?
You send Vienna out into the road with a big yellow flag so that we don't get run over, and then coast backwards downhill until you can get it into a safe place. And then you pull out your lawn chairs and wave at all the other competitors as they go by.
Oh. So I guess in some ways it's a little bit more relaxing after the initial.
I got to admit, truth, I wasn't terribly disappointed to be sitting behind the car on my lawn chair once we got to safety. It was like, okay, this day's shot. We don't have to worry about the stress and fatigue of what comes next. But I've made it sound like it's this terrible ordeal. It's not. It's great, and the camaraderie is not just with the competitors. Here's the really cool thing about it. We don't do any interstates. It's all, when I say back road, I mean really back road. You get to see Americana. And you've got people sitting on the side of the road, 4-year-old, 80-year-old people, and they're all excited about seeing these old antique cars.
Right.
And it's just a really neat slice of America that you get to see. That ordinarily, I mean, when are you ever going to be on those roads? When are you ever going to see those people? So it's a great opportunity.
I followed along a little bit on social media, and it looked like essentially in each town that you sort of hit, there was like a rally, and there was an amazing group of people.
They shut down the town. I mean, they roll out the red carpets. People are so excited. You've got 140 cars coming in. They're all very interesting.
Right.
And most of the competitors are pretty interesting. I mean, it kind of takes nutty people like us to do something like that. So, it's a big party. We stop for lunch, and then we stop for dinner and get to interface with all of the folks in town during those 2 stops.
And I mean, also, you guys are the ones with booze, so I imagine everybody's
we're pretty popular.
Let me talk to that guy.
we're pretty popular.
Speaking of that, I see a bottle sitting in front of you, which I understand is something special, and I'm hoping is going to be in my mouth.
Yeah, we're super proud. This is the 85th, I'm going to say, running of the Wyndham, playing of the Wyndham, which is in Greensboro at Sedgefield Country Club.
Oh, the golf tournament, sure.
The big PGA. This is the last regular tournament of the season before they go into the championships. But again, 85 years right here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we are the official bourbon and sponsor of the Wyndham this year. And that's a big deal for us to have that PGA connection and to bring it, again, right back home to this event here in North Carolina.
That's awesome.
So what I'm getting ready to pour samples of is, it is a single barrel selection at cask strength that we did specifically for the event.
Oh, that's for you. I got to do taxes later.
Got it. Okay. But so it's just our high rye. So 60% corn, 36 rye, 4% malted barley. So part of our regular offering, but this is a particularly special release. I've gone into the inventory and picked out barrels specifically for this event. So nose it, see what you think.
I get a little Jim Nance.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
Smell me. Put me in your mouth.
That's right.
First of all, just so you know, Southern Star is always the official sponsor of golf at the Woody and Wilcox show.
Oh, yeah.
We're at home drinking always.
Miniature golf, professional golf.
Watching golf on TV.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking, is watching it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't get Jim Nance, thankfully. I'm not sure how to describe what I get.
Little Rory McIlroy.
When you listen to the critics or you read some of the reviews for some of the bourbon writers, they just make up words. I mean, their vocabulary is phenomenal. One of my favorite ones is, I get a hint of wet saddle leather. And I'm like, how do you even know what that is? Versus, I mean, much less, what does it taste like? I mean, my God.
Right.
We don't talk in terms like that. We use things that people can relate to. Campfires, campfire marshmallows, caramel, vanilla, But, most of those things are packed right into this barrel selection.
Although I have had some that it's like wet cardboard, and I thought that's got to be a flaw. Nobody set out to have this taste like wet cardboard.
At least we're more familiar with wet cardboard than wet saddle.
We all know
leather.
the smell. I don't know if I know the
That's
taste.
that's what it smelled like, wet cardboard.
I do. There is some vanilla to this. I don't know what else. What else do you get out of this?
Honestly, I get a little cherry.
Could I smell it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So for the listeners who can't smell or taste any of this, let's talk a little bit about what this is.
Please.
So in the United States, we always talk about master distiller, right? And I've said this many times. The master distiller, that's an overused and underdeserved title, right? And there's 3,000 distilleries in the United States, and most of them have their master distillers. We don't have a master distiller. We have makers, and all of us are makers. My role in the company is to do the blending and the barrel selection. And if we go to Scotland or Ireland, it's just kind of like wine. It's not the maker that gets the accolades, it's the blender, because that's where the art is. The making is science, and it's super important, because if you don't get that right, you've got a bad product. But when it comes to making a great product excellent, that's where the blending comes in. So, we go through the inventory, we grade the barrels, A, Bs, and Cs. 10 A's don't make an A+, 5 A's, 3 B's, a couple of C's, that gets you the A+. So the faults that we may have picked up in those minority of barrels, they play into all of the attributes that we loved in the other barrels. And that's where the magic of blending comes in. So how does that go? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Right.
So that's kind of what's happening here.
So let me see, maybe dumb guy question, and I know we've covered some of these types of things, though, but it's unlike, for example, if you're brewing beer, which some people would be familiar with, because it can't be ready to drink right away, right? So you're blending. You're not blending and then immediately trying and going, nope, that's the wrong blend. Don't you have to blend it and then let it sit?
No.
Or how does that part of it work?
So
then?
the barrel has
like,
to
how
sit.
do you
Yeah.
know what's the good blend then? Or do you just make it and pray?
No. We go through it's kind of an iterative process where we go through and we know we've got our inventory and we've got a pretty good idea of how we want to combine that inventory to get the results that we want. But then it's just an iterative process where we take one of these, two of these, four of those, and we kind of systematically go through. And the other thing is that tasting and judging can be very subjective.
Sure.
We can all be, we can all fall under our own spell, so to speak. So having that double blind, even when it's just us, is important.
Right.
Because if it's a 7-year-old barrel, I'm sure it's better than the 4-year-old barrel. No, we don't want any of that information. We just want to be able to taste it and basically assess it without any other information, just on its own merits.
So, okay, so am I hearing right? Then you can mix and match, try, not try, and then do that before
Oh, absolutely.
the barrel process happens.
Oh, yeah. So that's a good question, and I see where you're going with that.
Okay.
We don't dump all of those barrels into a big trough. We'll go and we'll take small samples, 5, 6, ounce samples out of each barrel in advance. And then we'll go, into our process and we'll take a little bit from this and a little bit from that. And it's a process because we're looking at, basically building this out by parts or ratio.
Okay.
And then what happens after that? Does it have to go in a different barrel and sit for a while?
After
or
we
it's
determine what it is that we're looking for in that blend, we'll take those barrels and we'll dump them together and we'll bring them to proof. That means we'll have to add some water probably, unless it's barrel strength or cask strength. And then it goes into the bottle. Now you're hitting on something else, and that's finishing. So we might go through this process and then finish that product for a period of months or maybe a year, like we do with our double rye. We blend it, and then we put it in bourbon barrels to finish it. But we've got some new releases coming out this fall. One in particular, it's a cognac finish. So we're taking that product and we're finishing it in cognac barrels. Of course, cognac's been dumped, but then that bourbon is picking up all of that flavor from the cognac. And finishing it's a really neat art form, and that's really where we see a lot of creativity happening in the industry today. That particular product, the cognac finish, you're the first to hear it. That's going to be what we release for the Panthers 30th commemorative bottle this year.
Oh, wow.
Nobody else knew. Breaking news.
Boom.
Yeah.
So, but that part of it, then the finishing part is then where it does have to rest in the barrel.
Yeah.
And so you don't, obviously your experience, you kind of know if I do this, that, and this, it's probably going to come out kind of where I want it. But when you're starting
learn
in the process,
every day. I mean, honest to goodness, we've been doing this for 10, 11 years, and you know, God willing, we'll be doing it for another 20, 25 years, and we will learn all the way through the end of the process. I mean, every time you do something, you get a little more information, but I mean, it's an art form. It's not a science.
Right. And that's part of the beauty of it, right? Is that I assume different woods, different, as you mentioned, there's the cognac, there's the other barrel, which I
bourbon, but you could do it in a port barrel. You could do it in
so we've got another release coming out that's actually done in a Zinfandel barrel. It was a very high sugar content Zinfandel, borderline of being a port. We partnered with a small family winery out of California called Carlisle. It's one of the best Zins I've ever had. We got 3 of those barrels, and we finished some of the Paragon wheated bourbon, which is different from the bourbon we're tasting today. We finished that for, I think it was 9 months in these Carlisle Zinfandel barrels, and it is magic. I mean, it's like a dessert tray, chocolates, and and the color is phenomenal. Huh. So that's going to come out in a very, very limited release, be available at the distillery in about a couple of months this fall.
So in terms of, like you said, it's an art form, not a science. There's no guarantee that 2 barrels are always going to come out the same way, even if
they never do.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why it's such an art form. Every barrel is comprised of 30 to 40 individual staves or pieces of wood, and each one of those plays a different role in the unique character of that product.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I love it when Professor Pete comes out because there's so much that you don't. I mean, we all love drinking stuff, but there's so much that you don't know unless you've been in that process. It's fascinating.
When do you trust yourself? Because it's expensive and it's time consuming. Like I would be second guessing because I know what I like, but my palate is different than your palate.
And so, as a founder and the owner, one of the things that I get to do is I get to make what I like. And my hope is that other people like what I like. And so far, I've got a pretty good track record. So, I don't profess to have a great palate, but I know what I like. And it's like, what's your favorite color? Well, your favorite color isn't necessarily better or worse than mine. It's what you like, right? And that's one of the things that, when we're doing a tour, I'm always, please don't abuse the alcohol. Don't mix it with Coke or, a soda, right?
That's exactly what I was
And Vienna is right there beside me going, drink it any way you like. That's what it's for.